I want to talk about cancel culture, um, past transgressions, certain historical figures, digging up old social media posts from, your enemies or celebrities, um, ruining people's livelihoods over certain things that they have said that may have been offensive or unsavory. So let's start with the first aspect of it, that a lot of it depends on the transgression, on what was said, right? So we really need to delineate and make distinctions between actual crimes that may have happened. So if someone, really did sexually assault someone else, or there's a rape involved, or there's an actual threat involved, those obviously we have laws against those, and they've already been we've already dealt with those as a society, and that is completely separate from someone just having unsavory ideas and expressing them publicly, or ideas that others find offensive. These are not crimes, and I have a very uneasy feeling, and I do not like at all, that some people will go on Twitter and they will dig through someone's profile timeline years in the past to try to find some tweet that they tweeted that paints them in a negative light. They are trying their hardest to dig up dirt on these people and then use that against them to get them fired from their job, or whatever, what have you. Now, again, a lot of this depends on the situation. We can't just be pulling up tweets that are 7 years old or 3 years old or 2 years old where someone said something that was even racist, and now we're trying to ruin their whole life. We're trying to dogpile on them with a mob. We're trying to get them fired. We're going after maybe their spouse and asking them, how are you with someone who thinks this way? If somebody has an idea, people can change their ideas. They can change their mind. If someone tweeted something 7 years ago, I would hope that they don't still think that way. And if they do, how do we know they do? And this is not a world you want to be building, okay? Because everyone has things in their past that they're ashamed of, that they no longer will stand by, or they're uncomfortable with. And for you to then be such a petty person and have such hatred in your heart for this person to go through, and the time, honestly, who has the time to do it, to go through their past social media posts and try to pin something on them, is very problematic, to say the least. And again, it depends on what the situation was. It also depends on what they do. So, if someone is like a police officer and they have all these crazy racist rants, or, racist posts, or, they have very violent posts or something, that obviously is a different situation than if, they are a programmer at, a local business in your area. It's a lot different depending on the person, what they do, and what type of authority they have over others. And recently, I think there was 3 recent celebrities. 2 are on that reality show Vanderpump Rules. 2 girls had, I guess, past tweets that were found to be some sort of bit of racist, and now they were fired from the show. And then there's another guy, I forget what show he's on. It's like I want to say it's like a superhero show, and same thing. He had a past tweet. It was 7 or 8 years old. It was found It was a off-color joke. It was awful, and he was fired from his job because it was up there for all to see. Now, it should be apparent that I don't agree with some of the things that you'll find on people's timelines for sure. I don't agree with them. But we have to be very careful because the ideas today that you are canceling people over may be your ideas tomorrow. And we do not want to build a society where we can cancel and ruin people's lives based on the ideas they hold. Ideas are not crimes. There are worse things in the world than, off-color jokes or even someone who is racist. If your neighbor Johnny is a racist piece of shit and, he owns a pizza parlor, what is that? How does that affect you? He holds terrible ideas. He's probably not a great person. That doesn't make it a crime, and it really doesn't affect you. And that goes for anything. Your neighbor could just be a terrible human being in general. They could just hold immoral views. They may not be racist, but they're just an awful person. That doesn't mean we should destroy their entire life because they hold views that most people are at odds with. That's not the country you live in, and that's not the world we want to be building. And this also ties into, going around and destroying certain statues and defacing certain monuments. Again, this is a case-by-case basis. And, we shouldn't be going around destroying them or defacing them. We should be removing them in a responsible manner by professionals from public places and placing them in museums where they belong. But we shouldn't be destroying them. This is, who destroys monuments as well and statues? ISIS. That's a tactic of ISIS, actually. So I'm a firm believer that all Confederate monuments and statues should be taken down because they were treason. They were treasonous to the country you live in. They lost. We don't give second place trophies. They were trying to uphold a completely immoral, disgusting system of slavery. So we should remove them all. And we should put them in museums. But we shouldn't be acting like animals and beheading them or taking them or ripping them from their place. And I know it was like the other day, I think it was yesterday, there was like a statue of Christopher Columbus in Massachusetts. It might have been in Boston where they ripped the head off. They cut the head off of it. This is insane. Yes, Christopher Columbus did some terrible things, I'm sure. Again, there are a lot of people that have done terrible things. And I've said this before. The people who are destroying these statues, they probably don't even make the distinction or draw the line between, well, I play Michael Jackson music and dance around to that, or I listen to R. Kelly quite a bit. I mean, right? We can still have certain things and understand that there are flaws in certain people, but we don't have to be celebrating those flaws. And, Christopher Columbus, while he did obviously some things that led to horrible acts being committed on other people, he also reconnected the world, right? So there was, one side of the world that basically didn't know the other side of the world existed. And, so one of the things that you can say he did was he reconnected the world. Now, obviously, because of the times when he stumbled upon the Americas, there were terrible things that happened to the natives in the Americas. And disease was brought here, and I have that there was also disease from the natives that ended up inflicting on the Europeans that came to the Americas, because neither of them have been in contact with each other for many years. So they didn't have the immunity to certain diseases that each had. But obviously worse was done to the natives. But again, there were good things that came out of Columbus making his way to the Americas. And we shouldn't be ripping the heads off Christopher Columbus statues. If you want to have them removed from certain areas, by all means have a vote on it and put them in a museum. But don't destroy the statue. And that goes the same for Confederate statues. I don't think they should be destroyed. They should all be removed and placed in certain museums that would house them. And again, it's cancel culture. There are certain things that people should be canceled for. And by canceled, I mean like actually go to jail. Like Harvey Weinstein. He should be canceled. He should be in jail. But it's a case-by-case basis. We got to be careful how we blanket certain topics and overgeneralize. It's never a good thing. And you also have to be very careful of which ideas you want to cancel, because the ideas of today that are being canceled might be yours tomorrow.